beautiful, and welcome back to another episode of Beautiful I Am Colored. This is a place where I share insights and perspectives I've gleaned from my week with you in order to bring a sense of hope and healing. I'm also the author of the book titled Beautiful I Am Colored, and I do my best to align the things that I talk about with the things highlighted in my book having to do with spirit, mind, soul, and body. And so this week will be no different than the other weeks, except for those of you who are now able to see me visually on YouTube. But for those of you who have been with me for the past several months on Google, Spotify, or Apple podcast platforms, then you know that I'm not going to deviate from my typical pattern. This week, you may have seen I have been kind of marketing, which is kind of weird to say because I'm not the best marketer, but learning how to do that better. We're going to be discussing the topic of balance being a myth. And I'm going to encourage you to try harmony, and I'll get to that in just a second. But before I do, each week I like to show a moment of gratitude and give shout outs and thank yous. And for those of you who are new listeners or new watchers, this is the moment where I really give gratitude for a person, place, thing, or idea that has been a blessing to me for my week or month or whatever comes to me to share with you during the recording. So this week's shout out goes to, drum roll, a scale I purchased. Okay. So I already know some of you going like, a scale, girl, what? Please. No, but seriously, it's a scale that I purchased. So, and I had to wait like maybe 2 weeks for it or something like that. So I've been reading these reviews. Well, let me dial it back. First of all, I don't like, wow, see that? That's what I get for not putting it on. Oh, Jesus. And it's Avery too, oldest son. My God. Can I stop it? There we go. Okay. I apologize for that. But you see, like these are the things. So even though this is a recording, I could edit that out, but I'm not, because as you all know, I've been working with and through this technology thing for a while now. And so it's important that you know that, I'm human too, right? And you'll call people, check on people, and they call you back at the most inopportune times. Well, that's what that was. Okay. Time's back in. So getting back to this scale. So I was waiting on this scale for a while, and the uniqueness of the scale is that it's a biometric scale. So you stand on it barefoot, and it takes not just your weight, it takes your body fat, your body mass index. If you type in your measurements into the app, it'll spew out like your waist to hip ratio, because that also is a telltale sign of how healthy or not you are. Let me just tell you about this scale. I've never been one to weigh myself, as I believe I've already stated frequently, because it play with your psyche, the numbers and stuff, right? Because I'm not a little bitty person. I'm not a big person, but I'm definitely not a little bitty person. And so when I seen the number, after all the work I've been putting in, do you understand? I haven't been drinking. I've been doing 10,000 steps 6 times a week for the most part for the past 2 to 3 weeks straight. But even before then, I was working out. I've been cutting back on a lot of the things I like, but that number did not lie. Do you hear me? It was still in the ones. So I'm grateful for that, but it was the high ones nonetheless. What that actual number is, I don't know if I'll share that with you or not, because again, this is definitely a huge area of growth, an opportunity, I guess, for me. But the point is, why I'm excited about it is because it is a measure of accountability. And on a more serious note, you want to understand where you are so that you have a metric, right? Something to point back to say where you come from and where you're headed. So I'm thankful for the scale. I'm not going to mention what scale it is. You'll have to email me or text me or something, and I'll tell you what the name of the scale is, because people over here are not sponsored at this point. And so I'm just not going to be throwing company names out. Y'all should know that about me by now. And for those of you who are new, you'll know that that's a pet peeve of mine. I'm not doing it. Okay. So I'm going to take a brief second here to pause, collect myself, call my son back, and then I'll come right back with today's topic. See, balance is a myth. See that? Live example for you with that phone call. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back and a little bit more comfortable because I'm about to reapply this lip gloss while I talk to you about balance being a myth. And I'm doing this because on one of my other videos, my lips was so dry and cracky when I saw it. So, but anyway, balance is a myth. So recently, one of my colleagues from law school, I was corresponding with them. Actually, that happened today. I'm recording this on the Thursday before Sunday when it's released. Anyhow, I was corresponding with them via email about an issue I was having, and they mentioned just balancing, law school and stuff. And even before I had corresponded with my colleague, I had already, or I should say, gotten a download for the week that this was a topic that I wanted to talk about because I have a very, very bad habit of trying my best to be excellent at all things all the time. And while that's great, um, it's just not achievable at times, especially if you wear multiple hats. So, for those of you who do not know and are getting to know me, I've been married for 26 years. I have four young adult children and one grandchild thus far. And so, trying to balance that, right? Going back to this idea or this thought of a scale, like if you imagine like the fifth grade scale kit that they give you and noticing how things weigh differently and stuff, right? And trying to get them to be equivalent or equal. And what I'm saying is that life is very seldom on the same line all the time. I mentioned this in one of my posts from this week in advertising for this segment, but life really is full of ebb and flows, right? And so the scale is going to do this throughout most of life. This is what I'm finding. And this is why balance is a myth. And so I like to give practical examples. So I can tell you about the time when I went and got my first graduate degree. I was working full time at the time for Lockheed Martin, going through a very rigorous promotion there. I was getting my first master's degree. I was also doing that full time, but mostly nights and some weekends, and then doing practicum as well. I was like the basketball mom, the track mom, um, and all the things. Okay. And to say that I could balance all that would just be a complete bald faced lie. It wasn't a balance. It was some days I got to give all I have to school because I have a final or I have a presentation. And so I need to devote my attention to that. Some days, maybe I haven't paid as much attention as I need to in my relationship, with my spouse. And so maybe, I got to stop everything and pay attention to that and we do a special date night or we do just special adult time by ourselves or maybe I'm neglecting myself. I've become so stressed out and so overwhelmed and bombarded that I um, haven't worked out, so I haven't been able to sweat out toxins or things like that. um, the point is that there is no such really true thing as balance, and for some reason I feel like I'm seeing a lot of, especially on social media, like this perception that life is perfectly untainted. And as you saw, like in my video just now, right, like earlier, I had forgot to put my phone on silent. I get a phone call, my husband upstairs, he's snacking on something that I can hear way down in the basement, and we have wood floors upstairs so you can hear the steps and stuff like that. In a perfect world, I want for everything to be balanced and for the lighting to work right and this camera to work right and everything to work right all the time. But it's just not feasible, especially for today's time. And so, especially to anybody who is in this season of life where you have to put a lot more attention in one category or one area than you typically would. For example, I opened up with my correspondence with a colleague from law school, and law school is critical. When I tell you law school, don't be playing. Do you understand? Like, it's a whole different level. I don't care how smart you are, it's just a whole different level. But the bottom line is that's something that, their family has to work through right now, and that's a huge high priority. But I want to encourage you, like I encourage them, is that this is temporary, right? The seasons of life where you have to put and exert an excessive amount of energy towards one thing, especially if it's toward a high goal or a high objective, that you have. Um, it's okay. It's temporary, right? And that means that some days, you might need to just sit and look. Sometimes you ain't got nothing else left in the tank. You know what I'm saying? And that has to be okay. One of the things I do want to encourage from a relationship standpoint, however, is that if you are in a committed relationship, I do think that priority should always be given to home first. I'm just a believer that if things in your home are in chaos, then that trickles down to every other aspect of life. And so, if you have a firm foundation in your household and a clear understanding and communication with your significant other that, hey, I'm working through this thing right now, but I'll get better. I'll have more time in the future, but right now, this is all I have. I do believe it is very, very important to make that a high priority, even in seasons where you have to put and exert more energy onto one thing than not. The other person that I want to speak directly to is the stay at home mom. And I have a special place in my heart for stay at home moms because I was a stay at home mom for a long time, for probably the first 10 to 12 ish, maybe years of our life. I was not able to work full time consistently because it just didn't make sense to put the kids in daycare. It was just going to be too much of an expense. So I stayed home with the kids and even homeschooled for a year, which is a story for another day. The bottom line is this: don't let this internet fool you. Don't let me fool you because I can go hard and try to, make things look excellent and stuff like that. But don't let me fool you. That's why I kept the whole thing with the phone in this video so that you could see that everybody is actually a real life person on the other side of the screen, and there truly is no such thing as balance. Balance or the equivalent portion only happens very seldom in your life. So, welcome the ebbs and flow of life. Balance is a myth. Try harmony. And what I mean by that is, I liken that to a choir. Let's say, so in a choir, you have different voice parts. And for the sake of simplification, because this can get pretty advanced for those of you who have a music background, but I'll keep it simple. In a choir, you usually have four main parts, right? Soprano, alto, tenor, bass. They all sound different. They all may have to come in and out of the song at different points, but there's a harmony and there's a rhythm to it, right? Everybody is not on the same singing in unison all the time. It's harmony. And so think about life like that. Think about life as harmony, as a rhythm. And if the rhythm is off, then it's in your best interest to take an assessment of where those things you might need to improve in. That may mean taking a step back, that may be taking a day off sometimes. Sometimes that may be just devoting all you have to one thing because that um, is calling and begging for your attention. I know I keep saying this, but I want to reiterate one final time: balance is a myth. I would encourage you to try harmony and to look at life as a harmony or a piece of a choir, um, a vocal part, if you will. Um, and the final thing, and I want to make sure, the reason why I'm pausing is because I want to make sure I'm hearing right. And so usually I do this just on audio for those who listen to me regularly, but um, I like to hear. As I told you, this is about spirit, mind, soul, and body. And so when I'm talking, sometimes things come to me. And so I want to stop right here and I want to just lift up a very quick prayer for anyone who may be feeling overwhelmed with whatever you may be going through. because you're not feeling like you could have a sense of harmony at all in your life. And so I just want to pray really quick for that individual or those individuals. So, God of heaven above and all of the earth and the universe, I just pray right now for anyone who may be struggling with this myth of balance in their life and don't know how to do what to do. I just pray for peace that surpasses all understanding. I pray for comprehension. I pray for clarity, and for the right resources to bring across their path so that they can continue on to do whatever purpose and work you created them to do. And most importantly, I pray for harmony to be implemented in their lives and showing them how to do it according to them and their unique character. All these blessings I ask. Amen. Okay, so you'll get used to that, but every now and then, and only when I'm led, if and only if, I do like to lift up a prayer every now and then, and so I was led, and so that's what happened. Anyhow, that concludes the episode for this week, and as always, I hope that you have found a sense of hope and healing in me sharing my insights and perspectives from my week. Okay, until next time, beautiful, I hope you have a great week. In the meantime, you can follow me on Instagram. Oh, I'm now back on Facebook, so I'm there too. You know me here on YouTube. I'm working to try to get this audio split for podcast. Hopefully, I'm successful with that this week as well. In the meantime, remember, the future you is waiting on you. Until next week, beautiful. Have a great week, everyone.